Hi, and welcome to the videos for Math 126, the review for exam number 1. This will be the first of 4 videos, and I'll break the review sections down into 4 videos, 5 questions per video. If you're not in my class, you can still use this. I'll put the problem up before I start working it. You can just hit pause if you need to, try and work it, and then follow through. So the first question we have is we want to write the repeating decimal as a fraction in lowest terms. And we're given x is equal to 0.16 with the repeating bar over the top of the 6. Trying to get you guys some more light here. So we need to convert this to a fraction. So how do we do this? Well, we need to create an equation where we subtract one from the other with the repeating part after the decimal. So we can see here that the decimal is not in front of the repeating part yet. So what do I need to do? And again, if this is new to you, go ahead and hit pause, try and work it through. If you have the review sheet and you've already want to work and you just want to see if you have the answer, you can kind of fast forward. If you need to see how it's done, the first thing we have to do is what? Multiply our x by 10, and that moves the decimal over one place. So we get 1.666 repeating indefinitely. And if we multiply by 100x, that gets us 16 with a bunch of 6's repeating. So when I subtract this, the decimal part cancels each other out. 16 minus 1, I get 15 on the right side. And 100x minus 10x, I get 90x. So to get x by itself, I have to divide both sides by 90. So x is 15 over 90, which simplifies into 1 over 6. So my fraction is 1/6. Is what if I divide 1 by 6, I'll get 0.16 with the 6 repeating. So that's the answer for number 1. Number 2. And I'll go through these a little bit quickly just so that if you already have the answer and you don't need to see it again, you can kind of get through that part pretty quick. But if you do need to see it, if you need to stop, if you need to rewind the video, please feel free to do so. In number 2, I want to simplify. Square root of 75 plus the square root of 48. So if we're adding or subtracting roots, what do we have to have? We have to have the root is the same, and the radicand, the number underneath the radical sign, has to be the same. In this case, they're both square roots, so that's fine, but we have an issue because these values underneath the radical sign are not the same. So we need to try to do some manipulation to get them to be the same. Well, 75 we can write as what? We want to try to find a perfect square because we're taking square root. 75 can be rewritten as 25 times 3. So then I can break this up using my rules of the radicals. This is like square root of 25 times the square root of 3. Square root of 25 is 5. So the square root of 75 will simplify into 5 radical 3. Plus, well, I kind of have a heads up here now what I'm going to need, right? Because the only way I can add these two is if I have a square root of 3. So does anything go into 3? Does 3 go into 48? Yes, it does. It goes in 16 times, which is great because that's another perfect square. Separating again, square root of 16 times square root of 3. Square root of 16 is 4. So 4 root 3. So now it's the same root, same radicand. So 5 root 3 plus 4 root 3 is the same as saying 5x plus 4x. It's that piece that has to match up. So I get what? 9 times the square root of 3. That's number 2. Number 3. So number 3, I want to simplify and eliminate any negative exponents. And I'm given 2 a to the minus 1b over a squared b to the minus 3rd power, the whole thing raised to the negative 3 power. And so again, if you haven't worked this one yet, if you're not in my class and you're using this for review, that's fine. Go ahead and hit pause. Try to work it through. Come on back, see if you have the right answer. If you've tried this and you want to see if you have the right answer, let's go ahead and work this through. So the first thing we can do is get rid of this negative on the outside, and we do that by how? Well, we flip everything that's inside. I don't touch any positive or negative signs inside yet. I have to just take the reciprocal. So whatever in the denominator now becomes the numerator, a squared b to the minus 3. And whatever was in the numerator, 2a to the minus 1b, goes in the denominator. And then the exponent on the outside changes to a positive number. So now I can bring this third power in, and the key is don't forget to bring it to your number as well. So we always remember to bring it to the variables, but don't forget to bring it to whatever number's inside. If it's a 3, it's 3 to the third. If it's 2, it's 2 to the third, etc. So when I do this, I get what? Well, as I bring that exponent in, I'm multiplying what the exponents are. So 2 times 3 is 6. So I get a to the 6th power. Negative 3 times 3 is negative 9. 2 to the 3rd power is 8. Negative 1 times 3 is negative 3. And this is like b to the 1st power, so 1 times 3 becomes b to the 3rd power. Now, I want to get rid of my negative exponents. So, what do? Well, I move the exponent that's the smaller of the two values. Otherwise, if I move the bigger number, I'm going to create a negative exponent, and then I have to just move that variable again. So if I take the smaller number either to the numerator, if the numerator has the bigger exponent, or to the denominator, if the denominator has a bigger exponent, that'll eliminate the negatives for me. So I have first the number part, so I have 8 in the denominator. If I look at the a pieces, where's the bigger number? Well, 6 is bigger than negative 3, so I want to take the negative 3 up. So that means what? I get 6 minus a negative 3. So I'm always going to be subtracting whichever piece I'm moving. So 6 minus a negative 3. And now I have a 3 in the denominator on the b. I have a negative 9, so I want to bring the negative 9 down. So I have 3 minus a negative 9. So simplify, 6 minus negative 3 is like 6 plus 3, which is 9. So I get a to the 9th power in the numerator, 8. B, 3 minus a negative 9 is like 3 plus 9, which is 12. So your final answer should be a to the 9th over 8 b to the 12th. So we've gotten rid of any negative exponents and are just left with positive exponents on our variable pieces. And we've simplified the number down to 8. Okay, number 4. So number 4, we want to simplify the following. We have the 6th root of y to the 5th power times the cube root of y squared. All right, so this is multiplication of radicals. So in order to do multiplication of radicals, what has to be the same? The roots have to be the same. Can I just multiply this one out? The answer is no, because this is a 6th root, this is a 3rd root. So what's the only other way that I can go about solving this problem then, or simplifying, not really solving, there's no equal sign here. But how can I simplify this problem? I have to do what? I have to convert these to fractional exponents. So y to the 5th power, the 6th root, is what? Well, we know that when we have a fractional exponent, the number that goes in the denominator is whatever the root is. So that's going to be 6 in the denominator, 5 in the numerator. And this is getting multiplied by Well, it's a third root, so the 3 goes in the denominator, 2 goes in the numerator. So now can I do this one? And the answer is, of course, yes. Why? Because as long as I have the same base, what do I do with the exponent? So if I have x to the third times x squared, I do 3 plus 2 is 5. I just add the exponents. So same idea here. This is going to be y to the 5/6 plus 2/3. So to add fractions, I have to have the same denominator. So the least common denominator is what? 6. So this is y to the 5/6 plus this guy in terms of 6. Well, I have to multiply the denominator by 2. So multiply the numerator. So that's 4, which means this is y. 5 plus 4 is 9 over 6. And if I reduce this, it's y. If I divide top and bottom by 3, 3/2. So that's it, y to the 3/2 power. You could convert it back to a radical if you want, but really this is all we need. The 6th root of y to the 5th times the cube root of y squared is just y to the 3/2 power. And lastly, for this video, number 5. We want to factor 27 x to the third minus 8. Okay, here's one of our red flags. I only have 2 terms. So if I have 2 terms, that means what? It's probably either a difference of squares, a difference of cubes, or a sum of cubes. Well, it's not sum because there's a minus sign here. So it's got to be a difference of squares or difference of cubes. I'm down to just 2 choices. So we just have to figure out, well, if we look at this x to the third, that kind of gives us a little bit of hint that it's going to be a difference of cubes. So in order to do difference of cubes, we have our special factoring formulas, but I need to rewrite this as a difference of cubes, right? So I want to know what to the third power gives me 27x to the third. Well, the cube root of 27 is 3, cube root of x to the third is x. And we can check it. 3 cubed, 27, x to the third power, x to the third. So in our formula, this guy, the 3x, becomes our value for a. And this is minus what to the third power? Well, 8 is 2 to the third power. So this becomes our b in our special formula. And what is the special formula? When I have difference of cubes, it's a minus b times a squared plus ab plus b squared. So the a's and b's are always lined up the same. And it's easy to remember this formula if you don't get a cheat sheet. Why? Because this is always the same as whatever. If we have a difference of cubes, the minus sign comes first. If I had a sum of cubes, this would be a plus sign. And then these two guys are always opposite. So if I have a negative out here, I have a minus, if I have a negative here, I have plus in front of AB. And if I had a plus out here, this would be a negative. And then these guys are always positive values. So it's a matter of plugging in these values now. So my A is 3x, so I get 3x minus B, well 2 is my B. And then A, which is 3x, gets squared, plus A, which is 3x, times B, which is 2, plus B, which is 2, gets squared. So simplify this, I get 3x minus 2. 3x squared, well 3 squared is 9. X squared is that, x squared. Plus 3 times 2 is 6 times x, so 6x. And then plus 2 squared is 4. So 27x to the third minus 8 factors into 3x minus 2 times 9x squared plus 6x plus 4. So that wraps up video number 1. First 5 questions for the review sheet. Come on back and we'll look at questions 6 through 10.